As a CCTV operator, she's tasked with monitoring screens and detecting suspicious or illegal activity during grueling shifts. She's trained to handle multiple upsetting situations at once, but lately she's been distracted. She hasn't been doing her job well because she's been preoccupied with spying on him. The night she first saw him, she couldn't get him out her mind. The thoughts of him roused her from sleep. Her fixation doesn't subside. She steals tapes from work, anxiously replaying them alone in her apartment. When she returns to the office, she makes a terrible mistake. Negligence distracts her from a crime that has occurred elsewhere. She should have known better, but she wasn't expecting to see him again. The man who destroyed her life has been released from prison early. Welcome back. Today's movie is a psychological thriller set in Scotland, directed by Andrea Arnold, who's best known for American Honey and Fish Tank. It was co-written by Lonnie Scherfig and Anders Thomas Jensen as part of a collaboration inspired by Lars von Trier's work. The name comes from the Red Road Flats in Scotland, which no longer exist because they were demolished in 2015, and that's where a lot of this movie takes place. Kate Dickie stars as today's main character, Jackie. She might look familiar to you if you've watched The Witch, because she played the mother. Jackie is a very solitary woman. Aside from a few co-workers, she doesn't really interact with people. She lives alone. Most weekends are spent alone, and the closest thing to intimacy she allows is quick sex with a married man in his work van. One Friday night, she blocks the silence in her apartment with the TV as she opens a wedding invitation. "Please, please come," it reads. "It's been too long." She forces herself to go, but the questions and stares trigger something in her, so she leaves early. What a mistake to think things would be different. When she's back in front of the screens, she notices a man pursuing a woman to an isolated spot and mistakenly thinks a crime is about to happen. They're only two lovers sneaking off for a moment of intimacy. Jackie, the vigilant loner, indulges her voyeuristic curiosity and keeps her eyes on them the whole time. They finish. He turns around, and there's that face. There's Clyde Henderson walking free, even though he was supposed to serve a 10-year sentence for what he'd done to Jackie. Gradually, she gathers information, tracks down his location, and infiltrates his life. She's never forgiven him, and she's going to make him pay. I haven't watched many movies set in Scotland, but those few have been particularly depressing. They feature those movies. This one isn't as depressing, but this is my Hall of Mirrors, so it's a somber one, and it even verges on creepy sometimes. I really appreciated the pacing and exposition because certain characters and conversations stayed murky until the resolution, and I feel like that might be hard to do as a writer unless you're very creative, but I wouldn't know anything about that. Arnold has said she likes to create characters she'd root for, and I liked how these were written. Jackie and the people whose lives she intrudes on surprised me with their pasts. Evidently, Arnold wanted to demonstrate just how much people's reasoning, behaviors, and lifestyles can be attributed to trauma. We all know there are layers to people, but if I were a director, I don't think I'd give that much room for antagonists or side characters in their circles. I'm also sick of trying to empathize with grown-ass men who have the emotional intelligence of a 2-year-old. If I were a director, I'd want my movies to feel cathartic, and I've experienced violence to the point where my life was in danger several times. So I'd want shitty things to happen to shitty people in them, cause I feel like that's a harmless way to get vicarious jollies, you know? Jackie's story hit close to home for me, and some of you might think I'm immature for this, but I don't believe in forgiving and forgetting, cause I think it's possible to heal and still harbor hatred, depending on what you've gone through. There's no need to share what's been done to me, but the person who put my life in danger was a very sadistic person. There's no reforming that kind of person, and I could never forgive him. I'll admit I've wallowed in revenge fantasies someone like Asami Yamasaki would dream of, but that was a way for me to cope, and that's not something I do anymore. I felt powerless when this person was around me, and I wanted to put him in prison, but I was scared of retaliation against me or my family. Enough time has passed, so I'm not as eager for revenge, but that rage I felt pushed me to improve in a few ways. So I fully accept hatred's utility, and I don't feel shame for hating or loving as intensely as I do. Story time. Many years ago, I went shopping and a song with creepy lyrics was playing. It was The More You Ignore Me, The Closer I Get by Morrissey. I swear on everything I love, I walked out of the store before it ended and I couldn't get the lyrics out of my head. When I walked up the block, I saw the shit stain I've been talking about, but it was with someone and they had their backs to me. I think I froze in the middle of the street. I can't remember, but I hadn't seen him in years. I live in one of the most crowded cities in my country. What are the fucking odds I'm gonna see him right after that song? Like, it was the most bizarre spiritual experience I've had in my life. Luckily, he didn't turn around. I did, and I went home another way, but enough years had passed since I'd seen him that it wasn't so upsetting. So yes, it was very easy for me to root for Jackie until I realized what she was doing and what exactly had been done to her. I don't know what it's easier for me to sympathize with her lapses in judgment as more things came to light, but Jackie gets a little unhinged there for a second, and there's her feelings about what happened, but there's also what happened objectively, and objectively her schemes were intense. The handheld camera worked well to make scenes feel intimate or tense or voyeuristic. There are a lot of cool shots that emphasize that feeling of surveillance and the more invasive side of technology. The UK is one of the most heavily surveilled countries in the world. Where I'm from, CCTV is usually only accessed by the police after a crime, whereas in the UK it's preemptively monitored. In the early 2000s, pub and club violence had become a serious problem thanks to drinking and drug culture, so the UK ranked second after China in scale of CCTV presence, which is crazy if you think about it, but Glasgow was promoted as a model for community safety surveillance, and it's not like they're being monitored for the same reasons as the victims of the PRC. The handheld camera helped give a cramped, uncomfortable feeling during intimate scenes. Those were annoyingly graphic. I understand why it was included, and it was actually necessary. It wouldn't have been a big deal if I'd been alone, but this was my second attempt at finding a movie for you guys, cause the first one I'd picked had a graphic sex scene, and my mom was behind me making coffee, and I know she was trying to pretend like she didn't see it, but I end up picking this, and all of a sudden there's a fucking cock and hairy pussy just taking up my whole screen. I kind of wanted to get shot. The ending was a little hard for me to accept. Certain resolutions felt far-fetched, but they were negligible and definitely not impossible. I'll admit I was looking at things through my cynical lens, but that cynical lens had me wondering if a certain someone made a choice because they noticed cameras were around, or if they actually had a change of heart. Just know that there's a lot going on here, and I didn't envy any of these characters because everyone's going through something rough, and this felt very authentic, very human, when it's made clear who the people at the wedding were and how they're connected to Jackie. You see the full scale of damage caused by Clyde Henderson. Depression prevents us from seeing clearly, and we can lose sight of how our behavior affects the people around us. Jackie distanced herself from relatives because of the pain she carried, but she couldn't see that doing so hampered their healing. They were also affected by the incident, and they care about her. Arnold doesn't like to yell action and cut while filming because she thinks it pressures the actors and can make them too self-conscious. She also likes to choose non-actors in most of her movies. She probably picks people who live similar lives to the roles they play, but Kate Dickie as Jackie felt authentic because she's been formally trained. This was her first major defining role, and she did well. It was refreshing to see an actress with a natural healthy face because it had been a while since I'd watched something from this decade, and European movies back then tend to show real normal women with brain injury, but I've made peace with things as time has passed. If someone has wronged you and you're in the throes of that pain, it might feel like you won't feel peace without vengeance, but if you're not channeling that negativity into something positive, something substantial that'll build you up in case shit gets worse, because I like to remind you it can always get worse, then I promise the revenge won't magically fix things. Don't get me wrong, I would absolutely take revenge if it wouldn't have consequences for me, but that's not so, and that's perfectly fine. Remember, before you embark on a journey of revenge, dig 2 graves. Thanks for watching.